Okay guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back on the console on the PS4 version of Assetto Corsa, and we're taking the Lamborghini Huracan Gt3 around Silverstone for a hot lap and a setup. So we're going to start the lap and we're going to look out for the bit of green Astra on the left and the curb. We're going to swing the car over to that left hand side. You really want to get it wide there so you can chuck it in and get the maximum speed through this really fast right and then left hand turn. We're going to then look to brake at the start of the curb on the left, braking down into second gear, trying to skim the apex of that curb there on the right, getting on the power really slowly, running no traction control with this setup down to second gear, and then be very cautious before you put maximum power down on that corner there. You can risk losing the back end and just running wide and losing time. You can see there we're slightly down on our previous best lap. I think when we go through the split we're about just over a tenth and a half down on what we've done before. Then going into the braking zone, we're going to brake just before that little left hand turn sign there, going down into third gear, slowly feeding the power back through, then down to second. I like to keep it as tight into this right hand side as I can. That is where the grip is on the track. If you run wide you do get a better exit, but there's not as much grip on the tarmac, so just bear that in mind, although it can be used as an overtaking method if you fasten someone to run wide there and get a better pull out that corner. Then we're going to look for the changing colour on the tarmac. I'm going to brake down into fourth gear, trying to skim the apex of that curb and hard on the power in fourth gear into fifth gear, slightly run a little bit wide, just about keeping it on the curb there. Going through the gears, maximum attack through these corners now, down into fifth gear, you skim the apex of that curb, then down to fourth gear, and then we're going to down into third gear, slowly be patient before you put maximum power down. We just about time it right, maybe losing another tenth or so there, not too much though, and we go through the middle sector on 126.4, which is about 3 tenths off, I think 3-4 tenths off what my maximum potential could be at this point. Going down the gears, we're going to brake down into fourth, then third gear just before we hit the apex, holding the power again, be careful before you put maximum power down, short shifting into fourth just to dull that power a little bit so we can get the power down, then braking just before the curb on the right, down into third, then second gear, skim the apex on the left, then be again very cautious on the power here, putting the power down very gently into third gear and then over the line, maximum attack through that right hand, and we go over the line for a 2 minutes 0.5, which is not a bad lap. I think the setup has potential to hit a 159, a late 159 or something like that, or a mid 159 once we're fully up to speed, but as a base setup it works really well, and we're running no traction control with this setup. But remember, you can use the weakest settings etc or more if you want to. It still works quite nice, this setup. So looking, obviously brake bias 69, we didn't alter anything from that throughout the whole lap. It felt pretty much perfect, didn't need to alter that. Aerodynamics, we ran 1.7. You can run 1.6 if you want to put some traction control on maybe, but I preferred 1.7 and had no traction control. It just meant I could get on the power without any interference from that traction control system, and that's what I do rather have as weak a traction control setting as possible. Gearing quite a bit altered, as you see there, and we've got rid of that third to fourth gear lull in the it's like a horrible gap in the default setup. It's not timed right. You're in fourth gear is too late in my opinion on the base setup, so we've altered that a fair bit and altered some of the other gears to try and we lowered down second gear mainly as well, just to try and give some more pull out of them slow corners, as it was a bit too high and it wasn't giving us maximum speed coming out of them really slow second gear corners. So now we've lowered that second gear corner. It just means we've got a bit more revs and we can just pull out of them corners just a little bit more. Coast differential 45, that's just about right. It gives us the ability to chuck it into them really fast corners like turn 1 and also the old turn 1 from the original track. On power 10%, that's pretty much because I'm running no traction control. You can see there we lowered the rear tyre pressures. That's mainly to give us the grip on the rear because we're running no traction control. I wanted to give the rear end just a little bit more grip and bite, to steady it down a bit, and it actually helps cool the tyres down slightly in a way because you're not losing the back end as much and it's got more traction to the floor. Ride height, to counter the fact that we had done that with the tyres, we went one click up on the rear just to give us a slight forward pitch to the car, just to help us out through them really fast corners. Toe angle, we increased the rear toe angle slightly there to 3. We did have it a little bit lower, but we've put it to 3. The default is quite a lot higher, but I've gone down to 3, so give us more speed, more ability through the corners. You can see the front there, I like to run them on 0 with this car, and springs on the front quite stiff and a little bit softer on the rear, again to give us that traction in the traction zones where we were putting the power down in second gear. Bump, again very high with this car. I do like to run this car very high on the bumps, gives a real nice positive front end defining. You can carry a lot of speed through the corners when you run them bumps high. Fast bumps, I take them off with this car. For this track, I didn't feel the need to have anything on there. I do tend to run them very low in general. The fast bumps is something I prefer to do. Rebound, you can see we did slightly alter the rebounds from the default just to give us a bit more stability through the fast change of directions. Like for example, the end of the lap when you're changing from left to right from 6th to 5th gear, and you want stability in that car, and I feel that has worked with this rebound setting there. Fast rebounds, I don't think there's massive adjustments from the default there. I think we might have gone slightly lower on the rear, again just to give us a bit more traction on that rear end. Travel range only very slightly upped. Do tend to go quite high normally of myself, but I didn't find the needed to for this track, so I just went up to 60 and it felt okay. There was no issues on the curbs, on any issues with the suspension hitting the bumps up too early or anything. It felt okay, and I think this setup would do as a base setup. I think it has potential to possibly get into the 1 minute 59.5s or something like that when you've practiced loads and you're fully up to speed and you're pushing every limit on every corner. At the moment, I think that's my first setup I've done since Tyre Model 10 on this track. I've not actually done any proper setup, so maybe we'll look at some other cars on this track. I could go through every other car, but I did want to do it on Brands Hatch, but I kind of got the mood to do it on this track now. Really enjoy the track. I've liked it on a lot of other games as well. You can see there on the replay as we chuck it into that corner, that's what you really need to make sure you do on that first corner. Make sure you use maximum width for the track. Anyway guys, make sure you give this video a thumbs up if it's helped you out, if it's improved your lap time, if it's made the car more stable for yourself. And do remember, you can use traction control if you want. If you want to use a very high traction control setting, you might want to open that differential up slightly to 15 to 20%. Just bear that in mind. I'm running this setup with no traction control and the ABS on level 3, which is really important as well, I find, to get the car turning into some of them really fast corners. Anyway guys, make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these videos, and thanks again for watching. I'll be back very soon.